Hey guys, Hello Bella here, and in this video I'm going to be covering the cost of my 7-day Alaskan cruise with Holland America Line. I'm going to be going over numbers for how much the cruise cost, the shore excursions, the airfare, the Ubers, the hotel, pretty much everything that you can expect to pay if you are going on a cruise. Now I did take this cruise out of Seattle and I flew from Alabama, so that's going to be factored into the cost as well. I wanted to make an all-inclusive video that kind of shows you exactly how much you can look to spend, because I didn't see a lot of information about total cost for a cruise. Most of the time what you see YouTubers cover is like the actual booking price, so it might be like $5.99 for the cruise, but they leave out the fact that you would have to pay for things like internet or alcohol or your shore excursion. So this video is going to cover everything that I paid for, and I'm going to try to give you the best breakdown that I can, and I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised with how affordable an Alaskan cruise is. I don't make a lot of money, but I'm still able to travel, and one of the things I think is that you have to prioritize travel if you want to do it. You might have to cut out other things that you're spending money on, but overall I think that an Alaskan cruise is very affordable. So I'm going to get into the video and talk to you about how much everything costs and go over these numbers. So we booked the Have It All package with Holland America Line, and this included all of our food. It included up to 15 drinks per day per person. It included 2 shore excursion credits, so $100 each for shore excursions, and it also included 1 night of specialty dining. Now the numbers that I'm going to give you for the total cruise cost are going to be the cost that I paid. This basically is going to be doubled if you are going with another person. So if you book cruises often, you know that it's set up for double occupancy, so whatever that I paid is going to be basically doubled if I am traveling with another person. So if you're a husband and wife, then this video, just double the numbers from this video, because everything that I'm going to cover I have basically cut in half. So the first cost, obviously, how much did the cruise cost? So the cruise cost $1,574 for just me, and that included everything that I just said. That was the biggest cost. Obviously the second biggest cost was going to be airfare, but just under $1,600 for the cruise for a 7-day cruise, all inclusive of everything. So I'm not sure how that applies when it comes to other cruise lines. I know that Holland America is definitely a more expensive cruise line, but overall I thought that we paid a pretty decent price for a 7-day cruise when we had the Have It All package. Now I did get a chance to upgrade my room, and that was $150 per person. I actually had originally booked an inner room, and they emailed me about a week before the cruise and told me that basically for $298 I could have a veranda room. So a veranda room with Holland America Line is basically a balcony room. So we wound up upgrading, so we paid $150 a piece to upgrade our room, and I really think that that was just great luck for us, because I didn't realize how much having a balcony made your cruise so much better until I actually had one. The last cruise that I went on, I didn't have a balcony, so I was like, oh, no big deal. But going to Alaska, I really would recommend that you book the balcony if you get a chance to go to Alaska. You're already paying a lot of money anyway, so you might as well go ahead and book a nice room. So after the upgrade, that was $150, and then you have what's called gratuities, so tips basically that you have to pay on board. You can also pay them before, I believe, with most cruise lines, but for us that was about $100 a person, and overall that includes like tips I might have gave during the cruise. I tried to tip $1 per drink whenever I was drinking, and I tried to tip with our dinner. You don't have to tip, but I always tip because those people work extremely hard. Now the second biggest cost involved with this trip was the airfare. If you are good at geography, you know that Alabama and Seattle are not close together, so we had to basically fly across the country, and that cost us $468. That was our round trip flight, including a checked bag for each of us both ways, so $468 just to get to where we needed to be. I've also added in gas to the airport because that is another thing that we had to buy, so I put in $50 for that, and then I've also got in $100 for taxis. We had to take an Uber from the airport to the hotel, and then the next day from the hotel to the cruise ship, and then finally from the cruise ship back to the airport. So we had 3 Ubers altogether, and I would say it was under $100 a piece for us, but we'll just say $100 just to be fair. The next thing that we bought was a hotel. The hotel was $105 per person, so it was kind of a nicer hotel, or it was marketed as a nicer hotel. I would not stay there again. I did not have a good experience there. Really, it was overpriced for what it was, but it was downtown Seattle, so I guess that's what we were actually paying for. The hotel was called Hotel Max, so if you ever get a chance to book that, probably don't book that. I did book it on booking.com, and honestly, it was just a place to sleep for the night. We got into Seattle probably about 4 o'clock, and the cruise ship didn't leave till the next day. And I highly recommend also, while I'm thinking about it, that you go into wherever you're going the day before, because cancellations have been happening a lot lately. There's been a lot of people who didn't get to go on their cruise because they did not get to town early enough, and they, missed their flight, or their flight didn't happen. And, there's just not enough time when you are traveling the same day of your trip to make it to your cruise sometimes. So I really recommend that you go ahead and spend that extra money on the hotel. That way you don't miss your cruise altogether. So the next cost that we incurred was the cost for shore excursions. If you guys listened earlier, you know that we both got a $200 shore excursion credit. So basically 2 $100 credits to pick 2 shore excursions of our choice. And of course the ones that we wanted to go to were more than $100. So overall, I think we paid about $150 to $200 extra for shore excursions. We did the Mendenhall Glacier whale watching tour, and I went snorkeling. So those were my shore excursions. And I do have a separate video about the shore excursions that I went on and my experience with that as well on the channel. So after the shore excursions, we really didn't have a lot of other costs. I had what I would consider to be like miscellaneous purchases that I made before the cruise. I bought a poncho that I didn't even use and ended up returning. I bought some magnetic hooks for the cruise, and I did wind up using those and highly recommend those. I bought a winter coat for $45 at Ross. This was definitely a good purchase. It was like a weatherproof, rainproof coat from Under Armour, and I wore that pretty much every day that I got off the ship. And I also bought a pair of binoculars for $35. So altogether, $114 for miscellaneous expenses. Now, if you are, somebody who likes to buy a lot of things to travel, you could run into $200 or $300 here if you're not careful, because there's a lot of things that people recommend that you bring on cruises. Personally, I think that as I've traveled more, I become more of a minimalist packer, because I just don't use half the stuff that I bring with me. And even on this cruise, I felt like I packed too much. I brought probably too much clothes, and I didn't wind up wearing probably maybe half of it. If I had to do over, I would probably just bring my favorite things and maybe do laundry on like the 3rd or 4th day of the cruise. I believe it's about $7 to do your laundry, so that might be something that could save you time and money. If you don't check a bag at the airport and you only bring a small bag, you could also save probably $40 or $50 like that. So overall, I think there are a couple things that I could have done to, make this cruise cheaper, but I don't think it necessarily would have made the cruise better. So, I'm all for, like, if I'm already in for, $2,000 or $3,000, what's another $100? So that's my mindset on it. I don't like to nickel and dime over things, because I feel like it makes the vacation stressful. I'm not like a big budget kind of person. I like to have, a ballpark estimate of how much everything costs. And once I know that, I feel pretty comfortable, just kind of going along and spending what I want to spend. So obviously all of those numbers are a lot of numbers to keep up with, and I don't expect you guys to. So let's add it all up and see how much the total cost for the cruise actually was. So the total for one person to go on a 7-day Alaskan cruise, including the cost of the cruise, the shore excursions, the food, the internet, the alcohol, the airfare, the Uber, the hotel, and all the miscellaneous expenses, was $2,811. So coming in just under $3,000 for a 7-night cruise to Alaska. And I cannot believe that it is this affordable. I really think that, I have several more cruises planned for myself in the future. This is definitely a good way to travel, especially now that gas prices are so high, airfare so high. It's so cheap to get on a cruise and have everything included, and you get to travel and go see some things, but not so much the stress of traveling where you have to think about every little detail. Most of the details are already planned out for you. You can just sit back on your cruise and have a good time. So overall for my vacation, it cost about $400 a day if you divide the number that I gave you originally. So not sure what you guys feel about that. Is that too high for a vacation? Do you guys think that there's other things that I could have done to make this more affordable? Would you have booked it with a travel agent? Personally, I've never used a travel agent and I don't have any experience with it, but I know that a lot of older generation people use a travel agent. So if you have any experience with that, I would love to hear about it in the comment section below. Overall, I had a great time on my cruise. If you are interested in taking an Alaskan cruise, I have several other videos about my experience with Holland America Line, and I think that they're pretty much informative on what it's like to travel Holland America as a millennial, I guess, and just overall the experience that I had traveling. Cruising is definitely a vacation that I enjoy, and I think that you could enjoy it too, and I think that for, a 7-day trip under $3,000 is definitely, to me, an affordable type of vacation. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope the numbers were helpful and hopefully it wasn't too confusing to follow me. I wanted to make everything straightforward so that you could get a good idea of what you're going to spend on an Alaska cruise. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.